Hey guys, Corbin back with another printable project, and this is going to be the last episode, at least for now, of the 3D printed G1 Self-Transforming Bumblebee. So I know in the last episode I said I'd just get the transformation finished and then post the video. I wound up finishing that the night I posted that video because I made a decent amount of progress. So I figured I'd more or less just finish the project and then start the next video. And it's only been 2 weeks since the last one, so I think that that's a pretty reasonable turnaround time. So a lot of changes have been made in the CAD since last time. Let's start with the car parts. I added headlights. They're not exactly like how the toy is. They stick out a bit more, but I didn't want to put stickers on it. I thought that would look kind of tacky. I changed this bumper so that it matches the toy with these little parts that stick up and the two-tiered design. I added holes for mounting points for the front and the rear parts. I split up this section. This was the top section, and then this one body section here. These are now two separate parts. They're mirrored, so they're identical. And then added mounting points as well. The reason these are two separate parts is because the head is in between them, and I had to raise up the head a little bit, so it just made sense to have this be its own part. There are now magnetic points. Let me move this up a bit here, and then matching ones here. For this top part, I added mounting holes. It's kind of tough to see for the Arduino, which sits up front here. So yeah, a lot of progress has been made. I also matched the design of the front bumper to the rear bumper to the front one. Extended this down a little bit more. I added these holes here, which this is something I actually haven't done in the project yet, but eventually there will be switches, one to power the Arduino on, and then one to toggle if I want it to be in robot or car mode. The wheels I also finished. They are a pretty simple design. So it's just a black tire that goes around a gray wheel, just like in the toy. I didn't print these in rubber or anything. They don't roll, and they're not going to. And right now, you'll see in the toy, I haven't painted anything. The weather doesn't really work for painting things right now because I have to do that outside. So this project probably won't be sanded and finished for quite a while if I ever do it. Then I added a Autobot logo here. I made this a separate piece so that I could have this in a different color because I wanted this to look complete even though it's not finished painting. So all the plastic parts are more or less the correct color. So this I printed in red while the rest of this is yellow. So I think that's all the changes in the car body parts that I made. There might be a few other ones, like I made this smoother to match this a little better. It sticks out slightly in the toy, so it sticks out slightly here. Also, these parts aren't going to align perfectly in the transformation, so it's not the end of the world.
So in the last episode, I promised you guys a time lapse. I actually have two here, one for the front of the car and one for the back. Obviously, I printed two of each of these, one in each orientation, but I'm only showing the time lapse from one of each. A couple of reasons for that. One, my phone kept crashing while recording the time lapses, so I'm going to try to get a different time lapse app for it. The second is it would have just been a repeat of the same part, but flipped over the center axis. But yeah, in the future you can expect more time lapses like this.
But yeah, on to the robot itself. I added hands to it, as well as mounting points for the wheels. So these are basically just squares that have a chamfer on one edge, and that's just to make sure that they're in the right orientation, because this isn't in the center of the wheel, so the orientation does matter. If you look here, I modified, I actually kept this left one here, these parts, which are the ankle axis mounts. So with the increase of all the mass from the car parts, basically these gears were slipping. And it's already kind of an issue because it was already really heavy. So what I did is I moved this hole over about 1.5 millimeters, and that has for now fixed it so that these gears are closer to each other. I didn't change it on this one just so you can see the difference. I also lowered this part slightly, I think by about 1 or 2 millimeters. Basically just gives it clearance when this is moving. I increased the length of this. The legs extend a little further now. It's not as far as I'd like them to extend, but I'd need a complete redesign of the ankles if I wanted to extend it further, because basically as all of this mass moves backwards, these servos have to do more work, and it's barely able to lift what it's the weight right now. So I extended it as far as I can. I actually have a video of what happens when it fails, so I'll make sure to show that. So the arms were looser than I'd like them to be. So what I did was I made it so there's rails on 3 sides now instead of just 2. Actually, there was 3, but one of them was this axis here, and then the top was completely empty. Now, the top has this rail here, sides have, or the bottom has this rail, right side has this rail, and the left side has the gear. So it's between 4 sides, whereas before it was just between 3. And that makes the arms a lot tighter. They were just kind of loose. So I had to change the gears also for this because the new part sticks out quite a bit further. I don't have this aligned perfectly, but I'll show you it in the video. But yeah, so that basically just made it so the arms are less loose. I also had to change this part here. I made it a separate print from the main body. And the way it's aligned is just with a little hole with a notch there. And that just basically, it makes it so that it takes less time to print both, and also they can be in the correct orientation while printing so things don't break when like tightening the screw in here. I was having these break. Also I added the holes for the mounting points for this. I just used threaded inserts just like for everything else. I think that's about all the changes. I made the leg rails longer. That's just so that I can extend the legs further. Oh, another part that I forgot is this right here is for the magnetic base plate. I haven't talked about that at all. So basically, I talked about this last time a little bit, but there's a magnet that goes in here, and it's just held in place with 2 screws. So I cut out a piece of MDF, have the magnet in here. It's actually, I don't even have threaded inserts to hold it in place just because the force from the magnet holds it in place. So I made this, and then I also have 4 little corners to it. Eventually I'll make the base a lot more aesthetically pleasing, but for now this works just fine. So I basically just have 4 of these, 1 in each corner, and that just makes it so it sits flat. But I'll show you that when I show you guys the actual robot.
So here is Bumblebee. Let me show you guys the actual toy for scale. It's a lot bigger. So this is the magnetic base plate I was talking about. Right now it doesn't look particularly pretty, but all it is, it's got the 4 corners and then big magnet right there. I believe this is about a 200-pound magnet, and it works just fine. I was going to go with a stronger one, but it looks like I don't need it. So yeah, there's a couple things. These parts don't align perfectly. That's because the way they're mounted, let me focus on this, is back here. And this is a part that's glued on to another part, and there's threaded inserts in it. So if not everything is perfectly aligned, then obviously it's not going to align perfectly. But it's not too much of an issue. This thing is very big. I'm going to take it off this base plate. The way I do that, it's kind of difficult, is you have to push it like that. So then you see there's just the magnet here, and I just have to go in like that. So here's Bumblebee by himself. So I decided to put the Arduino and electronics up in the top. This is for a couple of reasons. Main one is ease of programming. This is on here magnetically, so it just connects like that. And it's actually kind of difficult to program Arduinos while servos are plugged in. So what I usually do is just take this off, and then I just unplug the shield, and then I just have this top plate. You can see the Autobot logo looks pretty good. I actually have printed this piece in black. I kind of like it in gray, because I have to leave this opening here for when the legs fold up, and it kind of looks like an engine, and I like that design. So on the back, you can see the head here. I changed out this motor for one that was a bit more expensive that doesn't twitch as much. Sorry about the focus. But yeah, you can see these panels here, these two ones, are slightly different colors. That's because I ran out of the PLA I used for these pieces, and I actually did print these earlier. In a minute, I'll show you guys all of the not failed prints, but prints that I had to modify the design of. I have a whole bag of them for this project. And these were some of those. Basically, I was having an issue where right here, it was colliding into the servo, so I had to add a bit of like a chamfer to that. But it works now. So let me show you the underside of this. So you can see the arms here, the wheels attach, just like I showed you before. There's this panel that keeps the batteries in place, the servos here, leg servos here. This is the magnet. But yeah. So overall, I'm pretty happy with it. Let me remove a couple of these panels so you guys can see a little better what's going on. All right, so I have those panels removed. So basically these just have little screws here, and they screw into these threaded inserts right here. Same with this one. Also, you can see the magnets sit flush like that. And this screws in right here. So this is kind of a cool cutaway view of it. You can see I changed how the arms shoot out, and these are a lot tighter now. They're still a little loose, which is actually good because I don't want them taking any weight, because all of the weight needs to be basically mounted here, and there can't be too much friction when it's pushing back. I already have a few issues with that. You can see the way I did the wiring. I have not zip tied the wires yet because I'm not 100% sure exactly how I want to do that. But basically the battery and the head wire come up through this little gap here, and the rest of them are kind of just wired in place. You can see that. So the plan for the tutorial is to basically make it like if you had a kit for Bumblebee. So I'll link all of the 3D printable parts in the description of that. You'll print all of them, and then I'll have a bill of materials for everything you need to build one for yourself. Buy all those, then you'll have all the components on hand, and you can just build it by following the tutorial. I'm hoping to have that done in the next 2 to 3 weeks. It's going to take quite a bit of work, but I think it'll be worth it because I've had quite a few people ask. And there's quite a few finishing steps that need to be done on this project, especially because like this bumper really should be silver. I might not wind up doing all the sanding and finishing, but I for sure eventually will have everything painted to be the correct color. But yeah, so I guess the next thing I want to show you guys, because this is kind of more of an in-depth video,
is just how many parts I 3D printed that I wound up not using. So let me go grab that bag. So here is the massive bag of parts that I have that I've 3D printed and were just different iterations. You can see these side panels for the car. Wound up taking a soldering iron to them to try to make everything fit. Wound up reprinting that. This was an older design of the arm rails as well as servo mounts. This was a design for the legs before these were extended, and when I tried to do it all in one part, obviously didn't work out, so I had to push that into 2 parts. This was an earlier ankle axis, the original track for the legs. Actually, that's not true. This was the original track for the legs. Just a bunch of different stuff. The original track for the arms. A lot of the red and green pieces in here were all like R&D pieces, basically. The original mount for the leg servos back when I had no idea how, or the ankle servos back when I had no idea how I was going to do that. So yeah, there is just an absolute crap ton of parts in here. Probably weighs like 5 pounds. You can see it's a full paper bag just filled with parts, a bunch of different gears. This is kind of just what goes on in the design process. It kind of sucks. This is all going to waste, but the final product was definitely worth it.
But yeah, thanks for watching this video and the series. I know this was kind of a long video, but I had a lot that I needed to explain. A lot of progress made in this episode. My next video should be a tutorial on how to make this if you want to make one for yourself. After that, I'm not really sure what project I'm going to do next. If you guys have any ideas, make sure to comment below. Thanks for watching.